Welcome back to Echo Ridge. Today, we're going to finish off data science research, getting the data miner, and hopefully finally getting the last achievement I need since the new update. But first, we have a huge problem. Do you see what it is? We're down to 360 kilojoules or 3 power banks available on the colony. And Divine Mango apparently can't find a new power bank. I have a feeling this critical power level is going to keep popping up until I get this situation solved. Truth be told, the comments clued me into the fact that during the last video, which remember I recorded the whole thing and then edited the whole thing, I did not notice that our power level kept going down. I had noticed it was sitting around 36,000 kilojoules and was like, that seems a little low. So instead of actually investigating it, I figured it was just because we've added so many more Bionic dupes that I needed more eco power banks. Well, I've been peeking around and I can tell you one of the problems is, look at all the empty power banks sitting on the rails. Now the empty power banks do go in and then they get sorted and stacked into these conveyor receptacles. I'm going to try to unpause just for a minute so we can watch them go through, and you'll see all the conveyor receptacles have plenty of the empty eco power banks in them. What's supposed to happen is the auto sweepers grab the empty, throw it into an available power bank charger, and then when it's finished being charged, the auto sweeper once again throws them into the conveyor loader and then sends them on back all the way across the entire colony, up through here, and then they get dropped off right here. And it looks like we have about 20 or 30 heading that way. What I believe the issue was, because I have so many idle dupes, at this point we have 85, even though the power bank chargers were set to a priority 1, the dupe was still getting the errand to come take an empty. First they had to find one, and then bring it all the way over to an available power bank charger. Meanwhile, that whole time, that power bank charger is sitting there, not charging power banks. I built 52 power bank chargers because when we did the math, we learned that one power bank charger can supply enough power banks for 2 Bionic duplicates. Well, we know we're going to eventually have 100. In fact, in just a few more duplicates, we will have 100 Bionic dupes. So the couple of spare we're supposed to take into the account the seconds it took the auto sweeper to grab an empty and load it in. But because of the aforementioned dupe getting the errand instead, I don't think that was happening as well as it was supposed to. So I've got a plan. I'm going to put some doors in here. Wait, why can't a door go in there? Oh, that's right. I had heavy watt conductive wire in the way. So let me just break that apart. I have now connected the heavy watt conductive wire here at the bottom. I've already sealed these doors so duplicates can't go through. And all I'll have to do is put a door in here and then make sure dupes don't come in. And hopefully that change will help us produce power banks at a much better efficiency. Oh my goodness. Here's one of the issues. We didn't have rail going all the way to this conveyor receptacle. I was about to highlight that, look, there's an empty power bank charger. So a dupe was having to actually load all 4 of these. That'll be one other inefficiency fixed. Looks like all the other receptacles are getting them as planned. I must have deconstructed something up here. Either that or I just forgot. There's no telling at this point, really. The good news is the critical power level went away, so Divine Mango did find a fresh battery. Now, about this full line of empties, this is probably due to the fact that we were so backed up and not producing the fully charged power banks. Looks like Baby Blue Bastard and Sean Hyatt can't find their power banks, but we're back up to 4 megajoules, so 32 available power banks, which, to highlight an issue, if you'll notice, Yo Mama Smells 69, these names sometimes, has slots for 4 power banks and only has 1 slot full. So sometimes, even though there's 11 units available, duplicates will go and grab them just for a spare. Here's another example. Look at all these power banks right here waiting for an empty. This is all time that could be spent charging. As soon as we finish these rails, I'm going to seal this door off by saying that no duplicate can pass up through it. So until that problem stabilizes for itself, I think it'd be smart to queue up some more fully charged power banks. These are only 1 use, and they cost 200 kilos of ore per, which means 5 per ton. So if I used every bit of iron ore we had in the colony, that would give us another 60 power banks. So let's just queue up 30 for now. And I'll also put this building on a 6. Oh, I have uranium. Hold on. I don't plan on doing anything with uranium. So I'll queue up, let's say 50. The rail's finally finished, and this conveyor receptacle is getting all of its empties. So now duplicates should... How did you get in there? Oh, I didn't block that door off yet. So now duplicates shouldn't be able to get to the power bank chargers. We've got another critical power bank level. This time it's Chip, who only has 26.4 kilojoules remaining. And there's one power bank available. Please, no one take Chip's power bank. Oh no, Chip is going for an oil change first. 22 kilojoules. Chip, might be time to get a battery, buddy. I also just learned that apparently the gunk extractors are now producing food poisoning germs. That might be how it was designed. Chip, it's not time to sleep. Chip, where are you going? So I might need to rethink my gunk extractor rooms and actually put sinks in there. Oh, this is not good. Chip is down to 9 kilojoules. Still one battery available. Luckily, Chip did go get a fresh bucket of oxygen before they decided to meditate. So when they do finally run out of power and they're sitting there in stasis, they shouldn't die before someone gets them a fresh power bank. Oh, nope. There goes Chip. Chip's falling all the way down. When are you going to finish falling, buddy? Chip? There you go. And it looks like Steela was here with the rescue. No, Steela was doing something else apparently. Let me put Chip on a high priority. We do have 22 units available all of a sudden. Thank you, Gabby Gabs. Saving Chip's life. Welcome back, buddy. Next time, maybe grab a snack before you go to meditate. And just that quickly, we're already down to 3 units. You can tell the Bionic Dupes have been running low on power banks for quite some time. So this number is going to keep going up as they get dropped off, and then go right back down as people grab more spares. But we should be on the right side of it now. Ooh, look, a printable. In honor of Chip running out of power, we're gonna grab another chip. Don't worry, buddy, there's plenty of power through the portal. Soon, hopefully. Oh, look, 5 new power banks. Thanks, new Chip. And everybody's coming to grab them. A quick check over here on Gurjibo. You may remember that Brian M is still over here. In fact, they're enjoying their vacation. The teleporter still has about 33% more to recharge, and then Brian M will be able to go home. But since Brian's not doing anything, why don't we grab all the refined metal and all the metal ores on this planetoid? So Brian's going to spend a couple cycles doing that, and then we'll send him home before these 4 volcanoes end up destroying this planetoid. I think next time I'm doing applied science research, I'm not going to use the Weiswort method for radiation. While it's convenient and pretty simple, especially when you're running Drecos to have an infinite supply of phosphorite to feed the Weisworts, we're only getting 142 rad bolts per cycle in this one and 132 rad bolts per cycle in this one. But considering data science itself takes 370, it does take a little bit of time. A small update I also did in the background to increase our thimbleweed production was I made this into a room and added a farm station. And since the thimbleweed are now in a greenhouse, they are getting the farmer's touch, which increases their growth speed by 100%. So instead of taking 2 cycles now, every single one of these is giving us 1 reed fiber per cycle. Now, normally I wouldn't do this for the thimble reed, but since I have this somewhat automated using the liquid shutoff, as soon as we get up to 50 reed fibers, the polluted water is going to cut off anyways. No polluted water means the thimble reed will not grow. The disadvantage though is even if the plant's not growing, duplicates are still going to come in here and apply the fertilizer. And you might think, well, an easy solution to that would be when we kill the liquid shutoff with a red signal, lock the door. Well, if we did that, then duplicates couldn't get out, unless we did something a little cheeky. And that's by adding duplicate motion sensors. So now, whenever there's a duplicate in here, this door cannot lock, because the motion sensor would send out a green signal, which would keep the door open. Yeah, the green signal will bypass the red signal being produced by the smart storage and the NOT gate, thereby keeping the liquid shut off and the polluted water flowing, but at least a duplicate wouldn't get stuck in here. But now there's another problem. I'll give you a quick second to see if you can figure out what that is. Here's your opportunity to pause. 3, 2, 1. Remembering that green signals override red, hence the reason why the door is open even when a duplicate is not in here, and it'll remain open while the smart storage bin is not full of 50 reed fiber? Well, when there's no duplicate in here and the smart storage bin is full, there'll be nothing but red signals which will lock this door, which means duplicates wouldn't be able to get in to grab the reed fiber. So the solution is going to be just moving the smart storage bin up here. Now, the auto sweeper is going to take the reed fiber, throw it in the conveyor loader. The conveyor loader is going to ship it right up to this conveyor chute. This auto sweeper is going to throw it in the smart storage bin. We are definitely not waiting for 20,000 kilos of reed fiber. Let's wait for 50. And now, as long as there's a duplicate in here, they will be able to get out because the door stays open. But when a duplicate leaves, oh, that's not good. Apparently, I had managed to do all that building within one cycle, so I had not hit another save point. But what I was going to say is, as soon as there's no duplicate in the ranch, and this new smart storage bin is filled with 50 reed fiber, this door will lock. Not only will the thimble reed not get any polluted water, the dupes won't be able to come in and fertilize it as well. Well, let me redo all that work. There we go. Probably a little bit more complicated than you really need for a simple thimble reed farm, but this way we're not wasting any polluted water or the fertilizer. Over on Gurjibo, Brian M's time on vacation has come to an end. Oh, we better take this Atmos suit for sure. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate all the hard work. Glad you didn't die. Duplicate number 199 is a Sonyar with an electrical engineering booster. Unfortunately, they have a decreased construction, but that's not a big deal. This colony is almost done. And at last, our data science research has completed. Sadly, I will not be testing out the remote worker or the remote controller, at least in this series, but don't you worry, there's going to be plenty more ONI series to come. Now, the data miner is an industrial machine. I'm going to try putting it here to start with. I was thinking about putting it in the laboratory because that sort of just makes sense, except the laboratory can't have any industrial machines. Ooh, 1,000 watts? That's not great. None of these circuits have 1,000 watts available. Let's find one that does. I mean, I have a circuit just for the arcade cabinet. You know what? When's the last time you've been to an arcade where all the machines work, right? They'll get over it. Now that I say that, when's the last time you've actually been to an arcade? Let's see what we can learn about the data miner. Mass produces data banks. That's what we're here for. Data banks can also be used to program robo-pilot rocket modules. More important, they can be used for research. This building is operating at 78% of its maximum speed. Production rate decreases at higher temperatures? Oh. The data-driven achievement says it has to be operating at maximum efficiency, and I don't think 78% is maximum, so I need to cool this building down. But there is our plastic 2 data banks. It doesn't take microchips or anything. So what am I ever going to do with all these microchips? Yeah, you can make more boosters and the NG's tune-ups, but that's about it. Alright, time to move you. At the minimum, I suppose the dupes will be happy that the arcade machine is no longer out of order. Oh look, it's Brian playing video games. Much better than the other planetoid, huh? I think we're gonna put the data miner right up here. Power was pretty easy. We just add another large power transformer here to the side and run a line all the way over. And since our cooling loop is at between -5 and -10 degrees, it looks like we now have a production rate of 115%, and it keeps going up. It looks like it's all dependent on the temperature of the data miner itself, and since the data miner is going down in temp, the production rate is going up. I really hope maximum efficiency is 100%. I also have an auto sweeper here. I did not put a conduction panel behind it, because as soon as the door opens, a little bit of atmosphere comes out, and I'm sure it'll be enough to keep the auto sweeper from overheating. Worst comes to worst though, I could just extend this cooling loop, but I really don't think it's necessary. The auto sweepers do not generate a lot of heat. In fact, they only produce 2,000 DTUs, which sounds like a decent amount, but remember, they only produce that heat when they're being used. And if I throw a 99 here, of course the auto sweeper is not going to get the errand, for the simple reason that we have way too many dupes. One issue I suspect we're going to have is the data miner produces 3,500 DTUs, which will raise its temperature, but I think our coolant will do just fine. Oh, a dupe doesn't even have to do it. They just sort of hit the go button and it produces it itself. But here you can see the data miner quickly raising in temp. I'm hoping as long as it stays above 100%, that'll be good. I am using a steel conduction panel, and I made the data miner out of steel as well, so the thermal conductivity between the two buildings should be pretty good. When we highlight the recipe, you can see that it does take 200 seconds, which is a third of a cycle. But considering there's 5 of these little slots, I'm guessing that means they're going to be able to produce 15 data banks per cycle. Whereas a dupe using the Orbital Data Collection Lab, it can create 1 data bank in 33 seconds, which would be just over 18 data banks per cycle, and that is before you add in the duplicate bonuses for operating and that sort of thing. So this is definitely a slower way of producing data banks. Oh no, it only produces 1 every 200 seconds. I didn't get the achievement. Okay, what is maximum efficiency? Okay, let's see if I can use 2 conduction panels to make this go even better. And I suppose that speed is also a product of the production rate, but it still looks like no matter how cold you get this thing, the Orbital Data Collection Lab is still going to be a little bit quicker. But then again, you could start stacking these things up. All right, plan B. I don't yet know what the maximum efficiency of the data miner is. Why do I have a feeling this is going to take supercoolant? And I don't have supercoolant. And no, we're not going to get supercoolant. But there is a sort of special way to make buildings super cold. Give me a few minutes and let me see what I can come up with. Before I can continue, it is time to print duplicate number 200. Who's going to get the lucky honor? It's going to be this gizmo with the suit training booster. I can't believe I'm done. I'm done printing duplicates. Okay, maybe we'll print 1 more, considering we thought a friend. Well, and depending on how long it takes me to do this. In the attempt to go colder, I'm looking around and seeing what liquids we have that might be able to go colder than, say, polluted water. Gunk's definitely not it. It's only minus 8.1. But crude oil can go down to 40 degrees. But based on the fact that the production rate was like 140 something at minus 10, I don't know if that's going to be enough. And since I don't know what the coldest this building has to be to get that maximum efficiency, I want a lot more headroom. So I'm going to do something that's A, probably not going to work, and B, taking a small advantage off the mechanics of the game. Unlike normal packets of, say, polluted water, if you hit the freezing point, it will crack its pipe. Well, it's true for gases and for liquids. Any amount below 1 kilo will not state change. The question is, do I put a bunch of 1 kilo packets in here or just one 1 kilo packet? I'm not sure where they would start to gather up, but that would be the risk. Let's see if I can get 1 kilo packets to flow successfully through here. And I will try using polluted water, because polluted water is one of the better coolants that I have right now. That looks to be just about full, and hopefully they don't stack up anywhere. Even if the thermal aqua tuner turns off, I'm thinking that'll just bypass, still with a 1-to-1. And I'm gonna say I want this at minus a kabillion, so the thermal aqua tuner never turns off. I did switch the conduction panel over to aluminum because aluminum has a better thermal conductivity than steel. I suppose before they get too cold, I can test and see if they will end up stacking by turning that off. And no, we still get 1 kilo packets. Beautiful. So now I'll turn it back on. One quick change that I'm doing, I realized I needed to cool the steam turbine, and originally I was going to have it being cooled by this loop here, but that seems like wasted potential, so I'm just going to have our regular cooling loop that is cooling everything else keep this thing cool, except that conduction panel is flipped. Look, that's not a flipped bridge. That's a conduction panel. It does not count. I wonder if I'd be better served by using something like obsidian instead of igneous rock. I suppose in the places that we can change it, I will. We'll use some ceramic, which means I'm going to have to queue up some more ceramic. No big deal, right down here. Ceramic has a thermal conductivity of just 0.019 and a specific heat capacity of 0.84. Igneous rock is 0.063 and 1. Regardless of the components, I don't think this will end up working, but at least I'm going to give it the good old try. Why are we down to 0 megajoules again? My assumption is with 99 bionic dupes on the colony, there was a lot of empty power bank slots, so as soon as they get created, they're getting gobbled up. But the reason why I think we're ahead of the curve is because I haven't seen a single critical power alert in quite some time. I have these connected right now. That way I can fill my line back up with 1 kilo packets. I just have to be very careful to make sure it's precise. In fact, I'm not even going to mess around with any more ceramic pipes before I end up breaking something by accident. And that should be... Oh, I need it. And that will be plenty right there. Oh, those are 2 kilo packets. Yeah, there's 3 kilos sitting in here. Hold on, I'm going to try to fix this. I got to empty the whole thing first. And once I do, I will reconnect it like this. And I know one blob that is filling that is about 10 pipes. So I'll disconnect it now and that should be good. Hopefully, maybe. All right, let's give it a go. We have a few empties, but that's not too big of a deal. I stopped databank production. That way we can get this thing cold. What is this? Is that a progress bar or production rate bar? All right, our polluted water is now down at minus 25 degrees. Granted, the data miner is not actually operating. Oh no. And the production rate is going up, but the little bar isn't. So I'm guessing this is a progress bar. Well, let's see how high this production rate can get. I'm also going to stop duplicates from coming up through this door because every time that door opens, more atmosphere escapes out. And I want the only thing impacting the cooling here to be these blobs, which are now down at minus 40. Oh no, the bar is moving. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. That means we're only, what, an eighth of a way there? While we're waiting on that, the printing pod is taunting me. I suppose we ought to print out one more Bionic dupe, considering we did print a friend. So I suppose it'll be this Chip. Wow, Chip's really the star of today's episode. Way to go, Chip. 201. I have a feeling this is going to take super coolant. We're up at 230% production rate. The little bar is continuing to move, but it is not very full. Our blobs are around minus 80 degrees. The problem is we might be able to get the 1 kilo blobs of polluted water that cold. But as soon as this thing turns on, I don't think the 1 kilo packets are going to be able to keep up. We're going to see though. Since we have not had any duplicates coming out, this area is slowly beginning to vacuum out, which will be good. We are down to milligrams, so the heat coming off the steam turbine shouldn't be able to travel over to the data miner, but I'm glad we're waiting a little bit. That way the gas pressure in this area will slowly keep escaping through this vacuum here, here, up here. Well, pretty much the entire top. Oh my goodness. The production rate is at 306%, and that little bar is only, what would you say, 2/5? And look, I know some of you might think this is an exploit. It's not an exploit. This is literally what the game allows you to do, right? Help convince me. I promise in the future, if I ever try to do this again, I'll use supercoolant and some high-speed, low-drag method, but for now, this jank is gonna have to work. Alright, the bar appears to be about halfway. The building's down at minus 140 degrees, and the production rate is at 352. If this was linear, the production rate would have to be at around 700%, but that would make the building minus 300. And nothing in this game can get to minus 300. There's a magic temp, I don't remember exactly what it is, that the game just cannot go below. I think it's around minus 260, minus 270 degrees, because I remember getting some sort of message in one of my liquid hydrogen setups, and liquid hydrogen freezes at minus 259. We have now passed 400% production rate. The polluted water is around minus 200 degrees, although there is some fluctuation. I wish I could have filled in the rest of the tiles with 1 kilo blobs, but this should get us there, right? A small problem is starting to appear. There was still a little bit of oxygen here, and apparently we are now freezing it because of that conduction panel. The data miner is at minus 240 degrees, and the production rate is nearing 500%. One thing that gave me a clue that this is what the devs were looking for is the not okay but pretty cool achievement, where you have to reduce the temperature of a building down to 6 Kelvin, which the handy dandy Google says is minus 260 degrees, which means you'd be able to knock out 2 achievements, not okay but pretty cool, and the data driven, by getting the data miner down to minus 260 degrees, which is now what I'm thinking we are looking for. You can see the little meter is almost full. Where is this water coming from? The rails are empty. We're not moving any ice. Oh, it's ice coming in from here. Every once in a while we have some holdover ice that melts and then reforms as ice, and then it gets put through our system. But since there's still an atmosphere here, it does have the potential of melting. Oh, it's that one little blob of water right there. I'll have to get up there and mop that. Okay, let me do it now before this is too late. I don't want this little bit to end up impacting. If it waits till this point, then it just goes into this pool and the pump will get rid of it. After the door opened, we lost some temps, so I have sealed it back up. Unfortunately, we have all sorts of elements playing with this building. Come on, polluted water. You can do it. The data miner is now at minus 262 degrees. Production rate of 533%, and it looks like that meter is full. I guess there's no time like the present. I know as soon as I turn this on, it's gonna start heating back up, but hopefully the 1 kilo packets can do their work. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll wait until it's almost done. I could then undo the plastic to data bank and then restart it once it's back, but it looks like it's holding. Minus 266 degrees. Where's my achievement? Oh, maybe you have to produce an entire batch, so that earlier little stunt wouldn't have worked. But the polluted water is holding. Granted, it's at minus 270 degrees. Hold! Hold! There it is. We have earned a new achievement, and look at that, it is data-driven. The world is now spinning back on its axis correctly. I can now sleep better at night knowing I've 100% again, until they add achievements to the new prehistoric DLC pack. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode and for this series. Now, for the next few weeks, I'm gonna be testing out some other games here on the channel, and so while I normally don't verbalize my ask, I just leave it to the lower third that appears about halfway through each video, but hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss the start of the next Oxygen Not Included video. Because the way the YouTube algorithm works is, if I start playing, say, Foundry or Foundations, and you're not interested in that game, well, the YouTube algorithm's gonna think that you're not interested in the channel anymore. And when I do start another ONI series, you may miss the start. There's your warning. Thank you all so much for sticking with this series. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't worry, we will be returning to ONI soon, because I can't wait to sink my teeth into a little ONI dinosaur action. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.